If you watch this video to the end, I'm not kidding, this might have an immense change within your daily life. Escaping the digital matrix. You know, there's this term, kind of escaping the matrix, that was coined by Andrew Tate. And I'm not really here to talk about that, but it's the idea of getting a lot of money so then you don't have to play by the rules. And it's kind of similar in the digital world. There's this system within the digital world where you have zero privacy. Everything's connected to everything, and you're kind of just used and abused by all these big tech companies with zero privacy, or your data being sold. And, you know, I'm going to show in this video how to escape from that, how you don't have to partake in that. And all you have to do is make some changes within your life, within your digital life, and you'll be fine. Let's get into it. So the first thing we have to get down is the philosophy. There's an entire philosophy with this movement, and that is essentially as little personal information on the internet as possible. The more disconnected your digital and personal life are, the better, the more private you are, you know? Now, unless you don't care about this, then it's up to you. But for example, for me, I don't have my name. I would never, yeah. So first, let's get into the philosophy, and that is essentially as little personal information connected to the internet as possible. You know, we want to disconnect our digital and personal lives from each other, especially because the more, you know, there are some important stuff within your personal life that, you know, if you keep posting about your family, who your sisters are, all this and stuff, people can determine where you live and they can do some scary stuff to you. So that is the most fundamental rule, is as little personal information as possible. You know, if you're going to have a social media account, you know, maybe you have your name and stuff, but don't talk about who's your family. Like, try and keep it separated. You know, really be mindful of what you're posting and how that connects to everything else. So that is the overarching philosophy. If you're going to get anything from this video, put as little personal information online as possible. So the first step is social media. And honestly, if you can, just get rid of it. Kind of a waste of time, but also, you know, it's rotting your brain when you're on Instagram, you're looking at all these girls, you know, like all this degenerate stuff, but also like Snapchat, TikTok, it's just rotting your brain away. But also, if we're just excluding that, these platforms harvest a lot of data out of you. You know, Instagram is owned by Facebook. Facebook has insane like facial recognition technology. So every time you're uploading, pretty sure you're uploading, you know, that you're allowing your face to be used and abused by these companies. So be aware of that. And they have zero care for you, your privacy. They're totally willing to sell you ads and, you know, look at everything that you do to sell you the best possible ad. Essentially, that's how all these free companies, free apps and programs make money, is just by, you know, collecting data and then selling it off to advertisers. So stop using these platforms, or at least use it in a very minimal aspect. You know, browse as little as possible. The more you browse, the more information and data you're giving for these AI and algorithms to essentially sell you the best possible ad and sell your data away. So beware. Put as little personal information on these platforms is ideal. Okay, so the next part is how much you use your phone. Your phone is actually a huge security threat. Genuinely, it is a huge security threat. Your phone, as simply put, how your phone connects to cellular towers essentially allows people to track you. So your phone is essentially a tracking device. So you need to be aware, like, okay, do I need to take my phone here? Do I, you know, it's not about, a lot of people when I talk to them about this, they think, oh, what are you hiding? You know, it's not about hiding, but it's like, would you want people to come into your house and see everything you're doing? You know, would you want these big tech companies to be aware? Like, unless you're getting something directly very useful out of it, why? I don't see the point. So yeah, use your phone as little as possible. Try and use it more as a tool than just as an entertainment device, but that's kind of another thing. But, you know, I set my phone to grayscale, so it's just completely gray, so that it's like, there's no colors, there's no distraction, and literally barely use my phone now. 1 hour and 10 minutes so far has been my daily average this week. If we look at it the week before, it was nearly 2 hours. So there's a change. If your phone is less enjoyable to use, you won't use it as much. You will have to do, you know, online searches. So ideally, if you really want it to be as private as possible, you just have to disconnect from the internet. But, you know, we like computers. If you're watching this channel, you probably like tech and you're interested in this stuff. So how can we use it in the most private way while still being able to use it? So that's where search engines come in. And this is probably, it's kind of hard, but if you're using Google, stop using Google. Google tracks everything. It's just, come on, it's Google. Do you really think they're going to take care of your privacy? So what I usually use is DuckDuckGo. I use DuckDuckGo. It's not ideal. You search something, whatever, like YouTube. It works fine. They do censor though. They do censor. Recently, from that the Russia and Ukraine war, they started censoring Russian disinformation. So whether it is disinformation or it is real, that's besides the case. But the fact that they're censoring any side is scary. Like you don't want them to, because like who's truly the victor? It's always the victor that writes the history. So I don't know. I don't really mess with that. There's also Brave Search. I don't know. Brave Search, it's very similar to DuckDuckGo, although I think it uses its own indexing algorithm. So I'm pretty sure Brave Search is pretty good. It looks exactly the same as DuckDuckGo. Like if I look up Brave Search, it looks clean. It looks clean. Like, okay, YouTube, and again, it's got the whole moderated search safe, and like it just works. It all works. Like it works fine. It looks fine. It's just a search engine. Then there's also like Swiss Cows and Quant and Cerex. And Cerex is an interesting one because it's not really a search engine, but it's like a meta search engine, because when you look up YouTube, it doesn't search for it like, let's say, YouTube itself, but it takes a lot of different websites and then compiles it. So right now I think it's only, I don't know what it's using, but yeah, you can like turn on which search engines and which not. So you can like, okay, DuckDuckGo or like this or that or that or this, it's interesting. Maybe not for everyone though. Now it's time, like, what browser are we using? And again, if you're using Google Chrome, do you really expect it to be safe? So you got to ask yourself these questions. For that reason, I use Brave. Brave uses Chromium, so it's not exactly, like, it looks exactly like Google Chrome. I don't know, I'm used to the Google Chrome layout. I like it. Looks exactly the same, essentially. You could do better. Brave is the best normie solution. If you want to download something and just make it work, then Brave is pretty good for that. Next step would probably be Firefox Harden, which is just Firefox with the settings tweaked and stuff. Works fine, but it doesn't look like Google. It's Firefox, different engine, a bit slower. I think Chromium is the fastest engine, whereas the Firefox engine is a bit slower. But yeah, so if you want to get pretty serious, then Firefox for daily use, Firefox Harden is probably the best use. Or something like LibreWolf, which is just Firefox Harden by default. It's pretty good. And then if you want to do something like very serious, then Tor. Now Tor is, how do I even explain it? Basically, if you've heard of the darknet, that's Tor. It's all spooky and stuff. Very secure. I don't want to get into it. You can do further, like, this is just a brief video, just wanted to overview. But Tor, look into it. It's a lot slower. That's the only caveat. It's a lot slower. It's not really used for daily browsing unless you are seriously worried about your privacy for whatever reason. If you're very serious, then this is the best bet. To put it simply. But do your own research on how to use that as safe as possible. So next is still related, is browser settings. So when we're using our browser, there's other aspects where collecting cookies in JavaScript. Now through cookies in JavaScript, they can still track you, they can still collect data off you, especially JavaScript. It's a bit spooky, low key. So if you want to be very secure, then you would turn off JavaScript and cookies. I'm pretty sure on Tor it automatically disables that, but you can turn it off. However, again, you need to be careful. However, if you turn off JavaScript, then basically most websites will not work for you. So it's because most websites are mostly use JavaScript nowadays. That's just how the internet works. It is pretty useful. It is a good programming language, but it's kind of a spooky one as well. It can be used pretty maliciously. So it's it is what it is. For me, I actually use both of these. I try and disable, I think, third-party cookies, but the cookies where it like saves your login information and stuff, I use that because it's just convenient. Again, you have to kind of evaluate convenience and privacy because that's what it's at the end of the day. If you want to be as private as possible, then you'll disconnect from the internet, but then you lose a whole bunch of convenience. So again, you have to evaluate this each time. Okay, so next would be transactions and cryptocurrency. If you're trying to be as private as possible, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is also very easily traceable. So the best cryptocurrency would be Monero. Monero is completely private. Even government agencies can't track it. They're begging people to say, how can we track this? Giving out rewards if you're able to track Monero. But they can't. So Monero is your best bet. Not financial advice at all, but if you want to make transactions online, then Monero is the most private cryptocurrency you can use. And next, now this is getting more and more advanced. So operating system, the operating system you're using. If you're watching this video, you probably use Linux, but if you don't, Linux is essentially a free and open source operating system that's community driven. I'm using Arch Linux. I have a lot of videos talking about how you can get into Linux and why I love Linux. But yeah, there's no bloatware. There is no, it's completely open. You don't have the same concept of proprietary software where on Windows and Mac, you have no idea what the code is doing. You have no idea what's going under the hood. Whereas in Linux, everything's open. Everyone can see what is going on. And therefore, people that are actually experts at this, they look at it and like, yeah, okay, there is no, spooky stuff going on. And Linux has a lot more benefits than simply just privacy, but it is extremely good at that as well. And again, if you want to be even more private, then you would use a completely free and open source computer setup. That would be completely free and open source operating systems such as like Parabola, which is a Arch Linux derivative. Everything you download is going to be free and open source software because that's the only thing you can download, increasing the chances that you can't download something and you have no idea what it's doing. You are able to scan. Instead, you are able to see what every single program is doing and know that you are safe. You would have to have your computer parts using completely free and open source software, which nowadays is kind of a hassle. Most modern chipsets and stuff always use proprietary drivers that just doesn't exist. You usually have to use older hardware. Again, that's a whole nother boatload, but if you're interested, do look into it. And then finally, what kind of phone you use. Going back to the phones, I use an iPhone. It is normie. It is a bit normie. If you truly want to be safe, Android isn't inherently better. Like if you get an Android phone like a Samsung, it is just as bad, maybe even worse. However, if you unlock root access to the phone and then install a completely free and open source software operating system, such as Graphene OS, then again, it will be a lot better. But again, there's going to be drawbacks. That's a whole different field, but look into it if you're interested. And then finally, email. Email, to be honest, is just unsecure. I use ProtonMail, even though it's claimed to be more private and secure, really isn't. Maybe I think Tutanota is a little bit more. But honestly, if you're trying to do something very secure, then email is not the way. The way email is built is just not built for privacy. And if you are having to do, probably the then most private way to email is maybe through temporary email address. You can just look up temp email, and there are a whole bunch of websites that will just give you a temporary email that you can use for a bit. And yeah, that's it. But if you wanted to message someone, email is not the way to go. That's the way to escape the digital matrix. Truly, if you don't want to be so reliant on these technologies, the best thing you can do for yourself is just use it as little as possible. Realize that these are all tools at the end of the day. Figure out how you can utilize it as much as possible for yourself and not for these companies who, they say this is free, but, they're milking you out of it. So you have to be careful. Hopefully now you'll be more aware, be more careful with how much personal information you give. That is actually the ultimate philosophy. Just be careful with any personal information you give. Think about how it can be used against you and just be careful. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.